To Hempstead, my wife, Donna Hobbs. I had an opportunity to be in Chicago as a delegate at the DNC to represent the 4th Congressional Congress of New York, and the energy and the excitement was through the roof. And when I reached out to my friend and brother, Hakeem, who I'll introduce later, I said, when we set this event up, I want the same energy to be in the room, and I feel the energy in the room. How many excited tonight? How many feel the energy in the room? Because this is how we do it in the village of Hempstead, which is the largest incorporated village in New York State. And although there is a debate of a village in Illinois with a residency of 67,000, that's census-wise, I can promise you that we're the largest village in the United States of America. To our chairman, Jay Jacobs, let's give him a round of applause. To our deputy mayor, Jeff Daniels, let's give him a round of applause. And to all of our trustees, Trustee Noah Burrows, let's give him a round of applause. To the best administrative assistant in the world, Dr. Cedric Von Easley. I'm going to get out of the way. I just came to welcome you, but I want to share this with you. Everyone in the village of Hempstead knows that I always emphasize relationship. Because without relationship, you cannot bring in the resources that you need for your community. Relationship means everything. I want to thank all of our restaurants in this diverse village of Hempstead that volunteered and gave food, from our Latino, our Caribbean, just everyone. Let's give them a round of applause. This is what Hempstead is about. It's about diversity. And so when we talk about relationship, I was told that on the other day there was a debate and my name came up a couple of times. I wasn't in the debate, but my name came up. And D. Esposito said that he said that he met with the mayor of the village of Hempstead. And I need to set the record straight. He's right. 2 years ago, when he first was elected, I reached out to his office because as mayor of the village of Hempstead, I don't care what the party is, I want to make sure that you deliver for the village of Hempstead. And so he did meet with me on that day. And to the residents of Hempstead and others that have joined, any spade players in the house? All right, to all the spades players, we know that a possibility don't mean much. So I met with him 2 years ago, and you know what he's delivered for those 2 years to the village of Hempstead? 0.0. So let the record show that he has given nothing to the village of Hempstead. And I know that he says he has something, what do you call it, in the works, but that's a possibility. I'm about those that deliver for the village of Hempstead. Don't give me a possibility, give me a guarantee. And that's why it is important that we support our Democratic candidates that will deliver for the village of Hempstead. I know that Laura Gillen will deliver for the village of Hempstead. And why? Because this is not the first time she's in the village of Hempstead because she's running for office. I remember when I ran as a trustee candidate, this nice lady from Rockville Center was walking with me, knocking on doors. I was like, who is this? And that was almost close to 8 years ago. So she's been to Hempstead. She supports Hempstead. And we know, unlike Espinozo, she will deliver for the village of Hempstead. We need her in office. We need to make sure that Siela Bynoe is elected. because Siela has proven herself to deliver for the village of Hempstead. When Bruce Blankman refused to give the village of Hempstead money to help us address the 1.4 dioxin in water, he said to his legislators, before we give to Hempstead, I want to see what the federal government is going to do. I want to see what the state is going to do before we use our resources, taxpayer resources, on Hempstead. Well, I want you to know, if we're the largest village in the state of New York, we're the largest contributor to the tax base of Nassau County. And so they fought, and they fought. Scott Davis is here, another one that fought for the village of Hempstead. And I'll never forget, Scott Davis called me one day and he said, Mayor, I was told that if you call the county executive directly, that there's a big chance that he'll give it to you. I can't tell you what I said, but I tell you what, I said to Scott, before I beg for what Hempstead deserves, I'm counting on the people that's elected to represent Hempstead to deliver for Hempstead, and Scott and Siela did that with $1.7 million to address our issue. And last but not least, our friend and brother, fellow trustee, Noah Barrows. We need to see Noah as our assembly man for the 18th Assembly District. We've got to get him in office. Because guess what? Based on relationships from the federal, state, and local representatives, we have, in the going on 4 years as mayor of the village of Hempstead, we have been able to bring in close to $60 million in funding for the village of Hempstead to address our roads, our infrastructure. That only happens by relationship. So let's get them elected. We're looking to have, for the first time, not only a woman, but a woman of color as the next president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Let's make it happen.
I think our mayor is fired up and ready to go. At this time, I am pleased to bring to the podium the chairman of the New York State and Nassau County Democrats, Mr. Jay Jacobs.
Mayor Hobbs, it's great to be in your village. Your village should be a city, okay? Because it is that big and that formidable, and it's always great to be here. And it is also great to be here with so many friends. I was outside as you all were coming in, and as I say, I saw so many people that I've worked with before and had elections with before, and good friends here. It's great to see you all. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking around this room. I've been in this job as county chair 24 years coming on. I have never, not ever, seen a spirit and a crowd and enthusiasm that I have seen today here in this and we've got a wonderful candidate. And I have to tell you something, I know Laura Gillen. I've worked with Laura Gillen. I've seen what she has been able to do. I've seen her commitment. She deserves the support that she is getting. She deserves every bit of our effort to make sure she's your next member of Congress for the 4th Congressional. Let's give it up to Laura Gillen. In a few moments, our next Speaker of the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, is going to be up here. And I have to tell you something. It is going to be wonderful to see a change in leadership in the House of Representatives.
Some leadership.
from the crazy wackadoos that are running it right now, if you watch it, to someone who has a vision, has compassion, decency, shows leadership skills, and has earned the respect not only of his entire caucus, but of Americans from across the country. That's what this election is about. Now, I can tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen, you all see the news, you watch TV, you read the papers. This is a consequential election. This is perhaps the most consequential election. Fred Brewington, I think, showed us what kind of spirit and excitement and motivation we need to have. Because this is not going to happen easily. Nothing is going to happen easily. You're going to have to work for it. And I'm going to tell you something. Not just in this community, not just in this county, not just in our state, but across the country. There are people who will not fill up rooms like this one, who will be sitting at home, enjoying the quiet of their family, their friends, watching sports perhaps, or something on Netflix. And they're not engaged in this race. And they're sitting it out. And it is those people I think we need to speak. Because with what is at stake, and you think about it, my friends, you listen carefully to the words that Donald Trump speaks. You listen carefully to what he says about people and what he says he will do. Nobody in this year, in this election, gets a free pass.
Right.
Nobody.
That's right.
If you think you're going to sit this one out and wake up the morning after with a clear conscience, I have news for you. Because no matter what your party, no matter what your ideology, no matter what your politics, hear me when I say this. The words out of that man's mouth, the way he denigrates people in our United States, the way he speaks of our Constitution and of all the values and principles that have guided this country for almost 250 years, no one gets a pass by sitting this election out. Those who vote for him, for them I feel sorry, because they own all of that. Make no mistake, I saw a New York Times article the other day, said, many of his supporters, they say they don't believe what he says. He's not really going to do that. You own what that man says. And if you can go to bed at night, kiss your children good night every single night, and listen to those man's words and the vile nature of how he speaks, and you can feel comfortable with it and still pull the lever or mark the paper for that man, you own that. That's on you. Now I'm going to tell you something else, and then I'm going to wrap it up so we get the main speaker here. But there are a lot of people who say, well, I want to vote for Trump because it was great back in the Trump years. It was terrific. I think these folks, seriously, I think these folks are suffering from the malady of amnesia. Now let's think about it. It was terrific. I think COVID-19 was phenomenal, all right? And the way this guy handled it, he was inept. He stood there and lied and admitted on tape that he knew he was lying when he didn't warn Americans that there was a danger coming. You should know this. Barack Obama faced a possible pandemic. It was called Ebola, you might remember. And how'd that turn out? Because he knew how to handle the White House. He set up an office of pandemic response. I want you to tell this to all the folks who think it was so great. Barack Obama set up the Office of Pandemic Response. National Security were telling him a pandemic is coming. He was prepared. What did Trump do when he got into office? He disbanded it. We had COVID pandemic. We lost 400,000 lives on that man's watch because of that man's incompetence, because of that man's deceit. And don't let anybody tell you, don't let anybody tell you that those were better days than they've been under Joe Biden, because it was Joe Biden that got the vaccines in the 100 million arms in the first 100 days. And I'll tell you something, Donald Trump couldn't get it done. Don't let anybody tell you that man knows how to be a governor. And let me tell you something else. There's a reason why there's not one of his secretaries of state, not one secretary of defense, not one member of his National Security Council, not his own vice president that will endorse this guy. In fact, they say he's incompetent and unfit for office. Let's tell folks that. I'm proud of Lord Gillen, proud of Wayne, proud of all of our leaders. Scott, Noah, Siela, I'm proud of all of you because you're here. Look around at each other. This is who you're here for. It's not for Lord Gillen. That's who we're going to vote for, but it's for you. It's for your kids. It's for your grandkids. It's for all of us. It's for everybody sitting next to you. So many people are sitting at home. They don't know what you know. They're not going to be able to do what you're going to be able to do because it's your work. It's all of your walking and knocking on doors and pulling people out that's going to make this happen. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm very grateful to you. Not just as the state chair of the Democratic Party, the county chair, sure, of course I'll be grateful. I'm grateful to you simply as an American. As somebody who understands the values of this nation, as you do, and is going to stand up with you to defend them, fight for them, and make sure that we bring it home for Kamala Harris this year. Let's get out there. Let's win this election. Thank you, Hempstead. You folks are great. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much.
All right, at this time, it gives me a pleasure. Oh, let me acknowledge one of our trustees that is here. I didn't see her earlier. Trustee Clarona Griffin. Let's give her. I am happy to introduce who I consider a friend and brother. The minority Speaker of the House that represents the 8th Congressional District, which includes Coney Island, that I've been pastoring there for 30 long years. And so we are excited. I gave him a call, and again, relationship means everything. If you don't have relationship, you can't call the minority speaker and say, hey brother, we need you to come out to Hempstead because we need Hempstead to know how important this upcoming election is. And without any question, he called me back and said, Bishop Mayor, I got 2 titles, I will be there for you. So at this time, let's stand to our feet and welcome our minority speaker, Hakeem Jeffries.
Good evening. Are you ready to elect Democrats up and down the ballot? Are you ready to send Laura Gillen to the United States Congress? Are you ready to help us take back control of the House of Representatives on November 5th? Thank you so much. What an honor. What an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you. Certainly so thankful for Bishop Hobbs, Mayor Hobbs, who is doing a tremendous job on behalf of this great community. I think that Bishop Hobbs is one of the best mayors this side of heaven. And so we're thankful for you, Bishop, of course, for Laura, who I'll speak more about, Jay Jacobs, so appreciative of our chair and the leadership that he's providing to Siela, who we know is on her way to the New York State Senate. We're thankful for her, all of my colleagues in government, to, of course, the highly distinguished, the legendary Attorney Brewington. We're thankful for him and all that you represent. It's good to be here in the 4th Congressional District. It's good to be in Nassau County. It's good to be in the great village of Hempstead. It's good to be on Strong Island, y'all. You know, they played Biggie Smalls when I was on the way out. I thought y'all was gonna play Public Enemy. But I'm thankful for the Brooklyn love, you know. This is a critical moment that we all confront right now. It's so wonderful to see so many people here concerned about the fragility of the moment, prepared to lean in and get involved and do what's necessary to make sure that we can make America the best version of herself, because the stakes are incredibly high. And all of you, through your presence here today, demonstrating what the power of imagination, imagining a better future, represents. You know, I had some experience with this concept of imagination. I had the honor of transitioning in November of 2022 from chair of the House Democratic Caucus to House Democratic leader. And so I'm thankful for that honor. And y'all remember this particular Congress started out very interesting. There were like 15 different votes before the other side, the extreme MAGA Republicans, could get their act together. It's the longest period of delay in the start of any Congress since before the Civil War. And it was just the beginning of what we would see, just the chaos, the dysfunction, and the extremism coming from the other side of the aisle. So finally, after the 15th vote, they got their act together. And I went back home, and I was on Fulton Street in Brooklyn, and I saw someone who called me over and said, Congressman, aren't you the guy who a few years ago on the floor of the United States Senate quoted the notorious B.I.G.? I said, yes, that was me. And then he said, and now, as I understand it, you're the House Democratic leader? I said, God is good. And then without missing a beat, you know, this is Brooklyn, without missing a beat, he said, how the hell did that happen? So then, Bishop, I had to think quickly on my feet, and then it came to me. I just said to him, well, you never thought that hip-hop would take it this far. The power of imagination. And so we've got to imagine a better future. Yeah. That's why I'm thankful that we have a president who's got imagination. He had the imagination to make sure that he put Ketanji Brown Jackson on the United States Supreme Court. And of course, he was able to imagine so many big things that we were able to do in the prior Congress when Democrats had the gavels in the House of Representatives. And of course, he will go down in history as one of the most consequential presidents of all time, Joe Biden. But then because Joe Biden, like all of us, believes in the power of imagination, Joe Biden made the selfless decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is ready, willing, and able to do the job. And Kamala Harris is fighting for our families. Kamala Harris is fighting for our freedom. Kamala Harris is fighting for our future. Together, we're going to make Kamala Harris the 47th President of the United States of America. That's what we can do with the power of imagination. But of course, we got to make sure that Kamala Harris has a governing partner in the United States House of Representatives. Because if the majority remains in the hands of the extreme MAGA Republicans, it'll be nothing but obstruction. Y'all remember, that's what they did to Barack Obama during his final 6 years in office. They're already plotting how they can obstruct Kamala Harris. You see, Laura Gillen, House Democrat, we believe in finding bipartisan common ground, just like the mayor talked about, whenever and wherever possible, in order to get things done for the American people, but we will always push back against their extremism whenever necessary, and we'll continue to do that. But there's no interest on the other side of the aisle amongst these extreme MAGA Republicans in solving problems on your behalf. No interest in delivering real results. In fact, you look at this current Congress, no one can point to a single thing that extreme MAGA Republicans have done to make your life better. Not a single thing. It's been chaos, dysfunction, and extremism. Now here's the thing. The current occupant of the 4th Congressional District, this is a situation where this is the most Democratic district in the country held by a Republican. The most Democratic district held by a Republican. So we got to make sure that we end that situation on November 5th and elect Laura Gillen to the United States House of Representatives. Someone who will fight for you, work hard for you, spend time with you in order to deliver real results. Now, when we talk about putting people over politics, that's what we think we have to do at all times. We have a track record to prove that we're not just talking about it, we are about it. You know, under Democrats, under the Biden-Harris administration, we rescued the economy from a once-in-a-century pandemic. Under Democrats, we put shots in arms, money in pockets, and kids back in school. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we're fixing our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, sewer and water systems, our infrastructure, and ensuring that there's clean water in every single community. No more Flint, Michigan, and no more Jackson, Mississippi. Democrats did that. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we passed gun safety legislation for the first time in 30 years that will save lives. And we know we have to do more. But we got it started. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we saw, of course, that our veterans who had served this country were dealing with painful exposure to toxic substances, Agent Orange, and burn pits, and didn't have health care to be able to live a life of dignity and respect. And so we stepped in, Democrats in the House and in the Senate, along with President Biden and Vice President Harris, and we passed the PACT Act to make sure that now more than 1 million veterans and their families have access to the health care that they need to live a life of dignity and respect, because our veterans have always been there for us. We must always be there for them. Be there for our veterans. Be there for those who have served this country. Democrats did that. We don't just talk about it, we are about it. It was Democrats, led by President Biden and Vice President Harris, partnering with Democratic majorities in the House and in the Senate, that passed the CHIPS and Science Act. Why? Because we knew it was time to bring domestic manufacturing jobs back home to the United States of America, as opposed to our jobs going in the other direction. And we topped off this string of incredible legislative success by passing the Inflation Reduction Act to strike a dramatic blow against the climate crisis, set our planet on a sustainable trajectory forward. Largest investment in combating the climate crisis in the history of the world. And in the same legislation, we're strengthening the Affordable Care Act, driving down the high price of prescription drugs, including taking the price of insulin. By way of example, which prior to Democrats acting cost the average American family about $4,000 a year. And now, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, has been capped for millions of Americans at $35 a month. The D in Democrat stands for deliver. We don't just talk about it, we are about it. And I lay that out not simply to say to all of you, reward us, but it is important to understand what the actual record reflects, so that you can convince everyone, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community members, your co-workers to trust us. We say what we mean, and we mean what we say. And we know that there's additional work that needs to be done. Laura knows that there's additional work that needs to be done. We have to continue to fight to build an affordable economy, a healthy economy that's accessible to everyone, to make sure that we deal with the property tax burden and address some of the challenges that have afflicted the people in this community, including the fact that it was Republicans in 2017 who took away your state and local tax deduction. I just gave you the Democratic record. That's the Republican record. They cost you thousands of dollars by taking away your state and local tax deduction. And this current group pretends like they want to do something about it. Wait a second, y'all are in the majority right now. And not a single bill from any of these Republicans in New York has been brought to the floor of the House of Representatives to address that issue. I can promise you that when you send Laura Gillen to the United States House of Representatives, we're going to make sure to restore your state and local tax deduction and put thousands of dollars back into the pockets of the hard-working people of the village of Hempstead, Nassau County, and throughout the state of New York. That's our promise. Because we recognize that we have to continue to lean into being there for those hard-working American taxpayers, all of you who have worked hard throughout your entire lives, and then had some Republicans come along, and because they want to reward the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, want to jam you up. Jam you up. But you know, as we think about moving forward, our promise, Laura's promise, the promise of House Democrats, is that we will always, House Democrats will always put people over politics. House Democrats will fight to lower housing costs, lower your tax burden, and make sure we're growing the middle class. House Democrats will fix our broken immigration system and secure the border. House Democrats will make sure we strengthen the relationship between the police and the community to make everyone safer. House Democrats will continue to combat the climate crisis with the fierce urgency of now. House Democrats will protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect Medicaid, protect the Affordable Care Act, protect working families, protect the middle class, protect our children, protect our seniors, protect our veterans, protect our dreamers, protect our unions, protect our democracy, and we will always protect the woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions. That's what you get when you send Laura Gillen to the United States House of Representatives. And lastly, as I prepare to yield the floor, because really I'm just the warm-up act for Laura Gillen, y'all. Let me simply say, good to see the First Lady. Let me simply say that we also have to protect our democracy. We have to protect our democracy, because democracy is not just an esoteric term. It's your ability to determine your future, the future of your children, the future of your grandchildren. And we got folks, including the incumbent congressperson, folks who are trying to turn back the clock, voted for efforts to suppress the vote over and over and over again. In fact, extreme MAGA Republicans have adopted voter suppression as an electoral strategy because they have no record to run on, and they know that their ideas aren't making any sense. So they've adopted voter suppression as an electoral strategy. What do you get with a House Democratic majority? What do you get when you send Laura Gillen to the United States Congress? Because this is one of just 4 seats that we need to win in order to flip control of the House of Representatives. No pressure on y'all, but one of 4 seats that we need to win. What do you get when you send Laura Gillen to the United States Congress? We're going to make sure that we pass the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Protection Act so we can end the era of voter suppression in the United States of America once and for all. No one can take away your voice, your power, your ability to determine your future. And as I conclude, let me simply just say that when we talk about democracy at risk, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they want to pretend as if we're just making stuff up, that it's hype. It's a hypothetical, that it's hyperbole. No, it's actually what happened. You see, I was on the floor of the House of Representatives that fateful day on January 6th. And as the mayor knows, at the time I was the chair of the House Democratic Caucus. That made me the number 5 Democrat at the time. And so I had the honor of being seated in the leadership section, right next to the great Jim Clyburn. Now, my good friend Catherine Clark, she was here earlier today. She's now the Democratic whip, but she was the assistant speaker at the time. That made her the number 4 Democrat, but she was off campus. So I'm right next to Jim Clyburn and Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer at the time was the House Majority Leader, the number 2 Democrat. Jim Clyburn, number 3 Democrat. Speaker Pelosi, of course, was at the rostrum. And I'll never forget. Yeah, we can give it up for Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She's going to go down in history as one of the greatest of all time, y'all. So I've learned during this Congress, it ain't easy to follow Michael Jordan. But we're working hard, we're working hard. So here is what happened. I see Speaker Pelosi at the rostrum, and the Republicans are debating the certification, trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power. And all of a sudden, the sergeant at arms interrupts the debate. And he says that the mob has breached the Capitol. They're on the 2nd floor, a few steps outside of the House chamber. So be prepared to hit the ground and secure the gas masks that are underneath your seats. Now, I got to be honest, at the time I had been in Congress a little over 4 terms. I had no idea there were gas masks underneath each and every seat. And so I thought to myself, well, damn, this is a situation. Bishop will acknowledge, damn is in the Bible. I think I'm all right. And then I see Speaker Pelosi aggressively removed from the rostrum by her security team. And then the security team, the Capitol Police, the brave Capitol Police who defended our democracy, we're so thankful for them. Many of them were seriously injured. Then I see the special Capitol Police detail for dignitaries. They come over and they remove Steny Hoyer. And then they come right up next to me, and I'll never forget it. And they say to Jim Clyburn with such urgency in their voice, "Sir, you have to leave now." And so I'm sitting there. Hakeem Jeffries, chair of the House Democratic Caucus. Number 5 Democrat. I see Speaker Pelosi, she's number 1, she's removed. And then I see Steny Hoyer, House Majority Leader number 2, he's removed. And then I see Jim Clyburn, the great Jim Clyburn, House Majority Whip number 3. Sir, you have to leave now. My good friend Catherine Clark, number 4 Democrat at the time, she was off campus. So I'm sitting there. Hakeem Jeffries, number 5 Democrat, chair of the House Democratic Caucus. I was waiting for somebody to come get me. But as Laura knows, they never came. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, it's a good thing I'm from Brooklyn. Because we have to always be prepared, Hempstead, to defend our democracy, to fight for our democracy, to stand up for our democracy. And so here's the thing. I tell you that not because the most important thing that happened that day was that we were temporarily run off the floor of the House of Representatives. No, because we are resilient people, just like all of you. The most important thing that happened that night was that we came back to the Capitol. We completed our work. We certified the election. We made sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would become the President and Vice President of the United States of America, that the peaceful transfer of power would endure. So as long as we continue to show up and stand up and speak up for what we know is right over the next 19 days, because a setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. We had a setback in 2022. Are we ready for a comeback? Are you ready for a comeback? Are you ready for a comeback? As long as we continue to show up and stand up and speak up for what we know is right, then I believe that we'll win the day and win the week and win the month, win the year, win the hearts and minds of the American people, elect Laura Gillen as the next congressperson from the 4th Congressional District, take back control of the United States House of Representatives, hold the Senate, elect Kamala Harris the 47th President of the United States of America, and continue our march toward a more perfect union. Let's go get it, Hempstead. Let's go get it. Onward to victory. And it's now my honor to present to you a caring leader, a compassionate leader, a common sense leader, and a courageous leader. And with your support, the next Congresswoman from the 4th Congressional District here in Long Island, Laura Gillen. Give it up for your Congressperson in waiting, Laura Gillen.
What was that you said about following Michael Jordan? Good evening, everybody. I am so grateful to be here with all of you today. I'm so grateful to be the nominee for this congressional seat. You know, I was with Bishop White not too long ago, and he gave a sermon, and he talked about great grace. Great grace. The only reason I'm standing here as your nominee, able to run for this office, is because of great grace. I have been so blessed in my life with a family that supported me, that got me to this road. But I am here just as God's servant, to serve all of you. And so I thank you for this opportunity. I thank Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Thank you for the incredible support you've given me in this journey. And I thank you for inspiring all of us here today to know the work that is at hand in the next 19 days. Thank you, Leader Jeffries. And I thank Mayor Hobbs and all the village trustees for hosting us here tonight. And I have to say, when I first got into this race, this cycle, the first people to get behind me and support me was the mayor of Hempstead and all the Hempstead trustees, and you better believe that I am not going to forget that. I want to thank Chairman Jacobs. We have had an amazing coordinated campaign this cycle like we have not seen. All the candidates here today, Siela Bynoe, Noah, Judy, Tina, Ellen, we are all working together to make sure that we get every vote out and that we see a blue wave this November 5th. I'm thankful to all the members of the clergy who are with us this evening. Please keep praying. You always need God on your side, so thank you. Thank you also to Bobby Powell and to my friend Fred Brewington. Thank you for your remarks tonight. So folks, as you heard, there is an election on November 5th. And early voting is just 8 days away. And as Leader Jeffries so eloquently emphasized, the stakes in this election really could not be higher. Whether we move towards a dark, dystopian future, or we move forward to help all Americans, not just the well-connected. And if we fight and we prevail in this election, we move forward. And together, we will address the affordable housing crisis that we are facing and the economic challenges that all of us are feeling in this district. And we will protect reproductive freedom. And we will safeguard incredibly important programs like Social Security and Medicare. And I am so looking forward to having the first thing that I do when I take office is voting to elect Hakeem Jeffries, the first Black Speaker of the House of Representatives. And when we win, we will move past the dysfunction of the most unproductive Congress since the Civil War. The only reason anything is happening in Congress right now is because of Leader Jeffries. And we will restore order and good government to the people's house. And we've seen now what it's like living under this MAGA majority. And we know what will happen when they push forward their dangerous, dystopian Project 2025 agenda. Yeah, you can boo. You can boo. And in fact, they have already started. Just this year, my opponent, Anthony D'Esposito, I don't know if you saw our debate. But one of the questions from an audience, well, not an audience member, a viewer, was, how do you represent Black and brown communities, sir?
Come on.
And he rambled on and on. I don't even know what he said. But I asked him, how can you say you represent a Black and brown community when, sir, you voted to restore a Confederate monument to the Arlington National Cemetery? He did not have an answer for that. He also voted at every turn to restrict reproductive freedom. So no matter what he's yelling into the TV screen when you see him, he has consistently voted against reproductive freedom, and he will continue to do so if you keep him in office.
Right.
And he talks now. It's so funny because they act like, don't look over here. You don't know that we're the ones who took away, Donald Trump took away your state and local tax deduction. But now all of a sudden he says he's going to bring it back. He's the one who took it away. And Anthony D'Esposito has been a member of the majority since he got to Congress. If he was an effective congressman, he could have gotten that bill brought to the floor. He did not even need one Democratic vote to get it passed, but he has failed us. Yeah. Together with Leader Jeffries, we are going to bring that deduction back. So look, government service is supposed to be about public service. But my opponent has shown us, and you've seen some of the reporting about what goes on in his congressional office, he's shown us that he thinks government service is about self-service. It's about enriching his friends and family. It's a time to say enough is enough to that.
Yeah.
So this election is going to be a fight. Let's make no mistake about that. But it's a fight we can win. Each and every one of you here are an agent of change. Each and every one of you here have the power to shape the future of this country, to flip the House of Representatives, and to bring us forward, not bring us backwards. And the way you do that is by getting every person you know out to vote. Make the phone calls, knock on the doors, call your friends, make sure you give people rides to the polls, because if we show up and we vote, we will win. We will win this election. This is about turnout, folks. And if we get our folks out to vote, and if we change some hearts and minds in the middle, we are going to take back the seat. We are going to take back the House. We are going to elect Kamala Harris, the first female black president of the United States. And we are going to make Hakeem Jeffries our next Speaker of the House. So let's do this, folks. Let's make sure that next year we are just living in 2025 and not under Project 2025.